Mr. President, today the Senate begins debate on an appropriations package that I believe is absolutely essential to the strength and security of this nation. The package before the Senate marries the two largest fiscal year 2019 appropriations bills, that is, the defense bill that funds all the national security and the labor HHS education bill. Each of these bills, Mr. President, carries the near unanimous support of the Appropriations Committee, which is quite unusual. The chairman of the Labor HHS Subcommittee, Senator Blunt, and his ranking member, Senator Murray, worked together to produce a strong bipartisan bill that balances many competing priorities. I commend both of these senators for their hard work, and I want to take this time to thank them for their continued efforts in this regard. Soon, Senators Blunt and Murray, if they haven't been here yet, will come to the floor to discuss the particulars of the Labor HHS division of this package. So I'm not going to get into the details of that bill. But as chairman of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, I want to provide my colleagues here this afternoon with an overview of the funding it contains for America's military. Secretary Mattis, Secretary of Defense, as we know, a decorated general who commands deep respect on both sides of the aisle, has warned us that, and I'll quote, that failure to modernize our military risk leaving us with a force that could dominate the last war but be irrelevant to tomorrow's security. Think about that for a minute. We cannot allow that to happen. I think, Mr. President, we must rebuild America's military, where it will be second to none in the world. We have to defend this nation first and foremost. Mr. President, I'm pleased here this afternoon in the U.S. Senate to report that this bill takes a big step in that direction. I will explain why. It provides an additional $67.9 billion for overseas contingency operations. The fiscal year 2018 defense bill enacted early this year contained the largest increase in military spending in 15 years. The bill now before us, Mr. President, does even better by providing an additional $16 billion above the 2018 level. The funding sustains U.S. force structure and improves military readiness. It also provides critical resources for the wide range of priorities that are essential to maintaining our technological superiority in an increasingly complex and competitive national security environment. The bill before us includes substantial investments in the areas of basic research, hypersonics, directed energy, artificial intelligence, microelectronics, missile defense, cybersecurity, and our test and evaluation infrastructure among many other priorities. Just as important, the package before the Senate today provides our men and women in uniform with the largest pay increase they've seen in nearly a decade, and they certainly deserve it. And as we debate this bill over the coming days, the sacrifices of these brave men and women should be the top of the mind of all of us. In light of their sacrifices, Mr. President, I believe it's our duty to ensure that they're best prepared and the best equipped military in the world. Mr. President, the American military is the most feared fighting force the world has ever known, and we want to keep it that way. This bill ensures that continues to be true. That is how we defend this nation. I want to thank the Vice Chairman at this time of the Defense Subcommittee, Senator Durbin, for his valuable input in crafting this bill. Together, I believe we've produced a balanced bill that meets the Pentagon's objectives and includes the contributions of senators from both sides of the aisle. I'm proud to present this legislation to my colleagues, and I urge their strong support. Mr. President, I also want to recognize the Vice Chairman of the full Appropriations Committee and his work on the committee, Senator Leahy, and the leaders of both sides, including Senators McConnell and Senator Schumer. At the outset of the appropriations cycle here, the four of us met and agreed to work together in an effort to return the Senate to regular order. And since that time, the Appropriations Committee has passed all 12 bills before the July the 4th recess, all with strong bipartisan margins. The first time, Mr. President, as you know, it's been done in 30 years. The first minibus contained 3 bills and passed the Senate by a vote of 86-5. It is now in conference with the House. The second minibus contained 4 bills, 2 of which had not seen the light of day on the Senate floor in many years, Interior and FSGG. That package passed by a vote, Mr. President, of 92-6. Hopefully, it will soon be in conference as well. By August, the Senate had passed more appropriations bills than our counterparts in the House. That had not happened, Mr. President, in the last 20 years. None of this would have been possible, Mr. President, as you would know, without the partnership of Vice Chairman Leahy and the leadership of Senators McConnell and Schumer with us. I want to take a moment and thank both of them once again. But, Mr. President, our work continues, starting now. We have a great opportunity to extend the success that we have generated thus far. It has been more than a decade since the Senate passed a labor HHS appropriations bill, period. And it's been a dozen years since the President was able to sign a defense appropriation bill into law before October the 1st. These two records, I believe, Mr. President, must be broken. We must not only provide the resources necessary to rebuild our military, we must do so before the end of the fiscal year. There's no time to waste when it comes to our national security. With the confirmed cooperation of my colleagues, I'm confident that we will continue to do our work done in a deliberate and a timely manner. And I want to thank all senators for working together to produce regular order in the appropriation process.